Hello neighbors, Councillor Gian-Carlo. This is Ward 9 TV, and we're talking about point 1 of my Great Neighborhoods mission at City Hall. My Great Neighborhoods mission is that great neighborhoods make a great city. Point 1 of the 5-point transformation I'm pursuing at City Hall is that if great neighborhoods make a great city, let's plan and develop our city around the outcome of great neighborhoods. That requires a series of core moves in changing how we plan and develop. And in the previous videos in this series, I talked about heritage as the baseline for establishing, what is the fundament of our neighborhoods that we're trying to protect and bequeath to future generations. Number 2 is the operationalizing policy document of the Developed Area Guidebook, which also includes a whole variety of tools and, most importantly, a rewrite of our MDP, a next generation land use bylaw. And then what it does is it allows an apples to apples infrastructure investment comparison, and that takes us into the next point of operationalizing great neighborhoods, and that's the Main Streets program. And so I'm calling this Main Streets. And so I say a lot of things about great neighborhoods, and one of the things I say is that the Main Street is the backbone of a great neighborhood. And by that I mean it is the anchoring street that moves us in and out of our neighborhood. It generally has the core infrastructure that brings the water in, moves the waste out, and it's where a lot of us live. It's where a lot of us shop. It's where the most intensity and density is. It's where usually transit-oriented development takes place. And the Main Street program is something that we had to fight for in the One Calgary service plan and budget. Basically, we enabled the Developed Area Guidebook. We established a work plan to do local area plans across the neighborhoods. We've empowered administration to come back with better heritage tools. And what we asked for through the Main Streets program, we didn't get it fully funded. Right now we've got $60 million to do it. But what we have is a commitment to come back and set up funding for the Main Streets through a variety of mechanisms. And what we asked for, number 1, is carryover one-time dollars. And what we have now is we've got municipal development plan basically identified 24 neighborhood and urban corridors, and we said, we're going to simplify neighborhood and urban corridor. We're just going to call them Main Streets, and there's 24 of them in the city. And we did a deep dive into almost half of them, where we worked with the local communities, and we started to talk about how a major infrastructure investment and rezoning and planning would create a better pedestrian realm, create better transit connections, create more opportunities for business, and would also rezone and allow private industry to come in and start building the kind of mixed-use density that really anchors our main streets. So what we asked for to make that happen is carryover dollars, and as I said, we have $60 million of one-time funding that we will be spending in inner city neighborhoods. The other thing we asked for was a program. And we want that program to basically become a fully funded, and what I'm looking for is $60 million, in the vicinity of $60 million a year, every year, because the 24 main streets that we've identified are not the only main streets. I can tell you Ogden Road, one of the original main streets of our city, is not on that list of 24. 11th Street and 8th Street in Ramsey, 2 major north-south corridors. 8th Street Spiller Road is actually the first McLeod Trail, not on the list. And so through our local area planning and the Developed Area Guidebooks, we have to identify the main streets that we haven't identified, and we have to start a significant reinvestment in the neighborhoods that have been paying our way. And so what I'm asking for is either a dedicated tax room or some other dedicated funding to go into that. So that's tax room, that's tax increase. And I will say that on the edge of the city this time around, we said, you know what? We've known for years that the developed areas, the existing tax base, has been funding growth on the edge. And what we understood was that that has to happen. There's no development industry with deep enough pockets to help unlock the potential of unbuilt upon lands on the edge of the city. And we actually set aside over 2% of the tax increase to enabling that growth on the edge. And that's something that we have to do. But what the argument we've made is that we have to start setting aside dedicated funding for rebuilding and putting infrastructure investment back into our neighborhoods. And that really starts on our main streets, which is where we do the pipes under the ground, where we do the major transit and transportation technologies, and where most of us want to get out and walk and shop locally. So that's what the Main Streets program is about. At budget time, while that was not fully funded, we have $60 million, and we have a commitment to come back and establish a fully fledged program. So I would say that our heritage bracket still needs a lot of support in the community. The developed area guidebook work is happening, and we want public engagement in making sure that it happens well. And what we really need is your support for Main Street funding to create that program of about $60 million a year every year, so we can bang off those 24 main streets and our TOD zones and a whole bunch of main streets that we have yet to identify through our local area planning process. So those are the three technical tools. Point two of great neighborhoods is that a neighborhood is not just a place, it's also the people that live there, the businesses that operate there, and the institutions that operate there. And what we've been talking about is, if we're going to do all of this planning and neighborhood change, we have to have a great conversation with the people in the neighborhood. So the fourth thing I'm going to talk about in the next video, which is part of point one of great neighborhoods, but it's also part of point two of great neighborhoods, which is getting the people and the governance side of our neighborhoods right, is the community representation framework. So let's talk about that next. Gian-Carlo signing off.